I'm Tony Brown. Can a slave make $40 million, or can $40 million a year make a slave? Or is the term, quote, $40 million slave, end quote, an oxymoron? Then what about putting it another way? Author William C. Rhoden also explains this phenomenon as, quote, the rise, fall, and redemption of the black athlete. My guest, of course, on this program is William C. Rhoden. He is a New York Times sports columnist and author of $40 Million Slaves, The Rise, Fall, and Redemption of the Black Athlete. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was an honor.
Thank you. It's my honor. And not only do you have this book out, but I understand within a very short period of time, months even, you have another book that's coming out. What's the name of it?
It's a book called Third and a Mile. It's an oral history of black quarterbacks, which I'm pretty excited about, too. In fact, there are a couple of guys I played against. I went to Morgan, and James Harris was one of the first quarterbacks to really make it in the NFL, went to Grambling. And, you know, we played against each other when I was 18 years old. He was a big-time All-American, so I said, Shaq, here we are.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very excited about that.
All right. Now, so in your previous incarnation, you were an athlete.
Yeah, I was a
student athlete. When students were athletes.
Although some of my professors. But yeah, I went to Morgan. And,
Morgan State in Baltimore.
Yes, that's right.
Yes,
in fact,
sir.
Yeah, and we beat up on our. But when I went to Morgan, actually, when I first went to Morgan, they hadn't lost a game in 4 years, and it was a big deal. And a game I actually described in one of the first stories I tell in $40 Million Slaves was how my first time in New York was, I was like, you know, I think it was September '68, and I don't even know if I turned 18 yet. And we were playing this big game against Grambling at Yankee Stadium. And all the critics were saying, how could this small black school in Baltimore and another black school in Louisiana sell out Yankee Stadium? And we blew their minds. The game was sold out 2 weeks in advance. And a lot of people were stunned. They were like, and it really got to me about the economy. They said, wait a minute, where 65,000 black folks come from? And it sold out. And also out of that game, there were like five.
They don't know that when Grambling plays somewhere, 30,000 people get in their car and follow the football team. That phenomenon is not known in the North. You know, but you bring your own crowd with you.
That's right.
Listen, this book, $40 Million Slaves, one would look at it perhaps and perhaps suspect that it's about exploitation. But it's not. It's about empowerment.
It's about power. It's about power. And I think that's a great question, Tony, because the book is about power and empowerment. You know, these guys are making too much money. There are too many of them. They're too visible. They've got a global platform to talk about anybody's exploitation. But I think one of the points right in the book is I think sometimes, particularly young people, if you don't know history, if you don't know what it took to get to this point, then you sometimes are so grateful of the immediate opportunity that you're kind of beholden. You're so grateful that you don't have time to empower yourself. So the book is really about empowerment, but how do you get power? How do you take this presence in the NBA and the NFL and turn it into power? And that flows into unity and teamwork.
Well, I'm going to ask a dumb question here. It's my impression, as being somebody who just knows nothing about sports, that many of them, if not most of them, are not interested in power. They don't have a mentality that says, I want to have power. I want to be empowered. They're happy. I mean, who wouldn't be happy with $40 million a year? What do you need power for? You got $40 million. You got stuff you can't even buy. You got things you buy that you can't use.
Yeah, well, most of them, unfortunately, they do buy. But you're precisely right. And I think this is kind of a metaphor for black people in general, and that's another show for another day. But it's about this idea that, listen, you deserve power. You should be in power. But I think some of us are really terrified with the prospect of getting power because that's a fight. I mean, people just don't give you
Frederick Douglass
power.
said that.
That's right.
Without struggle, there is no power.
And if you're a kid who's been brought up, you go to the University of Alabama, and from the time there's a chapter here called the conveyor belt. And the conveyor belt is how do you go from being 8, 9, 10 to being in the NBA and to being in the NFL. And normally the way that happens is you shut your mouth, don't rock the boat, go along to get along, And that increases by the time, for every level, college, then by the pros, it's like, listen, I don't want any trouble around me.